The conference room aboard the Concordat flagship Sovereign Dawn filled with the sounds of laughter. 7 different species sat around the holographic display, their various forms of amusement creating a chorus that echoed off the metal walls. At the center of the display floated a small blue planet, Earth. Ambassador David Chen stood alone on the human side of the negotiation table. His gray suit looked plain compared to the elaborate armor and ceremonial robes worn by the Concordat representatives. He had delivered humanity's message 3 minutes ago. The laughter had not stopped since. 30 days, wheezed Krathix, the war leader of the Vothan Empire. His forearms gestured wildly as his mandibles clicked in amusement. The human child gives us an ultimatum. 30 days to withdraw our rightful claims or else what? The other representatives joined in the mockery. The serpentine Qualith delegate coiled tighter in her chair, her scales flashing colors that Chen's translator identified as expressions of contempt. 40 years, she hissed. 40 years in our galaxy, and they think they can make demands. My species has records dating back 12,000 years. We were crossing the stars when your kind still lived in caves. Chen remained silent. His face showed nothing. He had been chosen for this assignment specifically because he could keep his emotions hidden. Inside, he felt the weight of what was coming. He thought about his daughter back on Earth, about the children playing in parks across 100 human colonies, about all the people who did not yet know that everything was about to change. Ambassador Chen, said Prelate Thonix, the nominal leader of the Concordat Coalition. His species, the ancient Korlathi, had dominated this region of space for 3 millennia. Let us be clear. The 7 worlds you occupy in the outer reach belong to the Concordat by historical right. Your presence there is temporary and exists only by our patience. You will evacuate those colonies within 60 days and pay reparations for your illegal settlement. This is not a negotiation, Chen finally spoke. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. Prelate, the worlds we settled were uninhabited. We paid fairly for the navigation charts. We have broken no laws. We have harmed no one. These are our homes now. Families live there. Children were born there. Irrelevant, Thonix said, waving a clawed hand dismissively. You are new to the galactic community. You do not understand how things work. The strong take what they need. The weak accept their place. This is the way it has always been. Then let me make something clear, Chen said. He placed a data chip on the table. This contains our complete response. Withdraw your fleets from our borders within 30 days. Acknowledge our legitimate claims to the colonies we have established. If you do this, we will forget this incident. We will continue to be your trading partners, your friends. We will help you as we have helped you. More laughter erupted around the table. And if we refuse your generous offer? Krathix asked mockingly. Chen looked at each representative in turn. Then you will learn why humanity spent the last 40 years building ships instead of monuments. Why we placed our best and brightest in the military, rather than in government. Why every human colony has defense platforms that could destroy asteroids but somehow never needed to. The laughter died down slightly. Krathix leaned forward. Are you threatening us, human, with what? Your pitiful fleet of cargo haulers converted to carry weapons? We have seen your ships. We know your capabilities. You have never fought a war in space. You have never even participated in a border skirmish. You are merchants and farmers playing at being soldiers. We are giving you a chance, Chen said softly. Please take it. Prelate Thonix stood, his massive form towering over the table. This meeting is over. You have 60 days to evacuate the contested worlds. If you do not, we will remove you by force. Be grateful we are being this generous. 40 years ago, we would have simply taken the worlds without warning. Chen picked up his data chip, which had not been accepted. He walked toward the docking port where his shuttle waited. As he reached the door, he turned back one final time. I want you to know something, he said. When this is over, when history records what happened here, I want it to be clear. We gave you a chance. We offered you peace. We warned you. Whatever comes next, remember that we tried. Krathix made a dismissive gesture. Go home, human. Prepare your evacuation, and be thankful we are allowing you to keep your lives. Chen left the Sovereign Dawn and returned to his shuttle. As the small ship detached and began the journey back to Earth, he opened a secure channel. Command, this is Ambassador Chen. Diplomatic solution has failed. They refused the terms. They are proceeding with their threats. General Elizabeth Okonkwo's face appeared on his screen. Behind her, Chen could see the command center of Earth Defense Force headquarters. Dozens of screens showed ship movements, fleet positions, defensive networks spanning light years. Confirmed, Ambassador. Did they take the chip? No, General. They laughed. Okonkwo nodded slowly. Then they never saw the files. They never saw the history. They don't know about the Unification Wars. They don't know about Mars. They don't know what we really are. No, ma'am. They think we're soft because we chose peace. Their mistake, Okonkwo said quietly. Return home, David. Get your family to the shelters. This is going to get bad before it gets better. How long until they cross the line? Chen asked. Intelligence suggests 31 days. They will wait exactly 1 day after our deadline, just to show they don't respect our warnings. Okonkwo's expression hardened. We'll be ready. All defensive platforms are armed. All fleets are positioned. Operation Reckoning is greenlit. Chen closed his eyes briefly. I wish they had listened. So do I, Okonkwo replied. But they made their choice. Now they live with the consequences. Safe travels, Ambassador. And David, thank you for trying. The transmission ended. Chen sat alone in his shuttle, watching the stars stream past. Behind him, aboard the Sovereign Dawn, the Concordat representatives were already ordering their fleets forward. They had no idea that every word they had spoken had been recorded. They did not know that human intelligence had infiltrated their networks years ago. They could not imagine that the peaceful merchants they had dismissed were the descendants of a species that had nearly destroyed itself in global warfare before finally learning the value of peace. They had been given a chance to back down. In 31 days, they would understand their mistake. Day 31 arrived with the cold silence of space. 3 Concordat battle groups crossed into human territory exactly as predicted. Their formation was impressive by any standard. 47 warships in total, each one larger than the biggest vessels in the known human fleet. Their shields glowed with power, their weapons charged with enough energy to glass a planet. Admiral Krathix commanded the invasion from the bridge of his flagship Eternal Fury. Around him, his crew worked with the confidence of warriors who had never known defeat. The Vothon Empire had conquered 17 systems in the last century alone. This would be their 18th. Status report, Krathix ordered. All battle groups report ready, sir, his tactical officer replied. Group Alpha is advancing toward the colony of New Eden. Group Beta is securing the Kepler station. Group Gamma is holding position at the jump point as reserve force. And the humans? Their patrol ships are retreating, sir. Just as predicted. They are running. Krathix's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Of course they are. They know they cannot win. This will be over by sunset. He paused, remembering something from the failed negotiations. Did their ambassador Chen really think we would fear his warnings? The bridge crew shared in their leader's amusement. They had all heard the recordings of the meeting. The human standing alone speaking of consequences and choices. It had become something of a joke among the invasion fleet. Sir, we are approaching the outer marker of the New Eden system, the navigation officer announced. Estimated time to orbit 4 hours. Excellent. Prepare to broadcast surrender terms to the colony. We will be merciful if they evacuate quickly. But something was wrong. The tactical officer was staring at his screen, his face changing color in a way that indicated confusion. Sir, I am detecting anomalous readings. What kind of readings? Mass signatures. Multiple objects. They were not there on our previous scans. Krathix felt the first tickle of unease. Asteroids? No, sir. These are artificial. They are. They are everywhere. Dozens of them, hundreds, they are surrounding us. The view screen changed, showing enhanced sensor data. Around the 3 battle groups, space was suddenly filled with structures. They had been dark, completely passive, invisible to every scan the Concordat had performed. Now they were lighting up, power signatures blooming like deadly flowers. Defense platforms, whispered the tactical officer. They have been here the entire time. Krathix stood from his command chair. Impossible. We surveyed this region for months. There was nothing here. They were disguised as asteroids, sir, as debris fields, as ice chunks. They have been waiting. Evasive maneuvers. All ships. That was when the first railgun fired. The weapon itself was simple in concept. Magnetic acceleration launched a solid projectile at a significant fraction of the speed of light. No energy shields could stop it because it was not energy. It was mass and velocity, the most basic form of destruction in the universe. The projectile hit the cruiser dominant reach amidships. It passed completely through the ship in less than a second. The entry hole was small. The exit hole was the size of a building. Atmosphere vented explosively into space. Internal bulkheads collapsed. The cruiser broke into 3 pieces, its reactor going critical moments later. "Shields up. Return fire." Krathix roared, but the platforms were already firing again. And again. Dozens of them, positioned in a perfect 3-dimensional grid that gave them overlapping fields of fire. The Concordate ships were caught in a killing box. The Steadfast Honor took 5 hits in 10 seconds. Its shields, designed to absorb and dissipate energy weapons, did nothing against solid metal moving at 90,000 kilometers per second. The ship's entire engineering section vanished in a cloud of debris. "They are targeting our engines," someone shouted. "They want to cripple us, not destroy us." Krathix understood with sudden horrifying clarity. Dead ships told no tales. Crippled ships could limp home and report what they had seen. This was not about victory. This was about sending a message. "All ships, emergency jump. Get us out of here." But the platforms had been positioned with precise calculation. Every major jump corridor was covered. Ships trying to escape found themselves flying into even heavier fire. The destroyer. Quick Strike exploded when a railgun round penetrated its jump drive while it was charging. In 40 minutes of carefully orchestrated violence, 2 of the 3 battle groups were reduced to floating wreckage or crippled hulks. Group Gamma, held in reserve, managed to jump away, but only because the platforms let them. Krathix knew this with the certainty of a professional warrior. They had been allowed to escape. Aboard the Eternal Fury, now listing badly with 3 of its 4 main engines destroyed, Krathix stared at the tactical display. 70% casualties, 31 ships crippled or destroyed, and the human fleet had never even appeared. "Send a message to High Command," he said quietly. Tell them we were wrong. The humans were not unprepared. They were waiting. "This entire sector is a trap. Sir, receiving a transmission. It is from the colony of New Eden." "Put it through." A human face appeared on screen. She was young, perhaps in her 30s, wearing a simple colonial administrator's uniform. Behind her, Krathix could see windows showing a peaceful settlement. Children were playing in a park. People were going about their daily lives, apparently unconcerned that a battle had just occurred overhead. "This is Governor Sarah Mitchell of New Eden," the human said calmly. "Your wounded ships may proceed to orbit. We will provide medical assistance to your casualties. Evacuation shuttles are already launching. Despite your intentions, we will not leave your injured to die in space." Krathix said nothing. Shame was not an emotion he often experienced, but he felt it now. "You came here to take our homes," Mitchell continued. "You came expecting us to run. Ambassador Chen gave you 30 days to reconsider. You chose not to. Now you know the truth. We are not helpless. We are not easy prey. We are not going anywhere." "This changes nothing," Krathix managed to say. "The Concordate will send more ships. Overwhelming force." "Then you will lose more ships," Mitchell replied simply. "How many, Admiral? How many ships will you sacrifice before you accept what Ambassador Chen tried to tell you? We do not want war. We want peace. But we will not surrender our homes to bullies. We cannot." The transmission ended. Around Krathix, his crew worked desperately to keep their damaged ship functional. Rescue shuttles from the human colony were indeed approaching, just as promised. The humans were going to save the warriors who had come to conquer them. Light years away in the Concordate High Command Center, 7 species watched the battle recordings in stunned silence. They saw the platforms emerge from hiding. They saw their proud warships torn apart by weapons they had dismissed as primitive. They saw the casualty reports mounting. Prelate Thonix spoke first. "This must be everything they have. They revealed their defensive network. Now we know where it is. We can destroy it." But Qualith, the Serpentine delegate, was not so certain. "Did you see how precisely those platforms fired? Did you notice how they targeted engines and weapons, not life support? That was not desperation. That was control. That was practice." "Impossible," Thonix insisted. "They have never fought a war in space." "Perhaps," Qualith said slowly, "we should have asked ourselves why they were so good at something they had never done. Perhaps we should have wondered what they were practicing for all these years." Thonix shook his head firmly. "Assemble the Grand Armada. Triple the force. We will overwhelm them with numbers." Across the room, Krathix's recorded message was playing again. His final words echoed in the chamber. They were not hiding in fear. They were preparing, The Concordat made their decision. They would send more ships. They would use overwhelming force. They would show these upstart humans that there were consequences for resistance they did not yet understand. Earth had given them a chance to back down. They had refused. Now they would learn what humanity had hoped they would never need to teach. The Concordat Grand Armada assembled at the Nexus Point, a massive fleet staging area that had not seen such numbers in 50 years. 2,000 warships gathered in formation, representing the combined military might of 7 civilizations. From massive dreadnoughts to swift destroyers, from carrier vessels to siege platforms, the Armada was designed to crush any opposition through sheer overwhelming force. Prelate Thonix stood aboard the super dreadnought Divine Mandate, watching the fleet assemble through the observation deck. Pride swelled in his chest. This was power. This was might. No upstart species could stand against this. Their defense platform surprised us once, he announced to his assembled commanders. They will not surprise us again. We have identified their positions. We know their capabilities. We will destroy them from beyond their range, then proceed with the occupation. The commanders nodded in agreement. They had studied the recordings from the first battle extensively. The platforms were dangerous but stationary. With enough ships, they could be overwhelmed and eliminated. All ships report ready, Prelate, the tactical coordinator announced. We await your order to advance. Proceed, Thonix commanded. Show these humans what true power looks like. The Armada moved forward in perfect formation, a wall of metal and firepower advancing through space. Their destination was the same as before, the human colonies in the outer reach. But this time they would not be caught unprepared. They jumped into the system expecting a fight. Instead, they found silence. Sensor report, demanded the tactical coordinator. The defense platforms are gone, sir. All of them. The entire grid has been dismantled. What? Thonix leaned forward. Where are they? Unknown, sir. The colonies are still there. We detect population centers, orbital facilities, but no military presence. No platforms. No ships. It is a trick, Krathik said. He had been given command of a battle group as a chance to redeem his earlier failure. They are hiding again. Full sensor sweep. All frequencies. The Armada spread out, flooding the system with every kind of scan known to Concordat science. They found the colonies. They found civilian traffic. They found mining operations and agricultural stations, but no military forces. Perhaps they have surrendered, suggested one of the younger commanders. Perhaps they realized the futility of resistance. Thonix was about to order the occupation when the tactical coordinator spoke again, his voice uncertain. Sir, I am detecting mass displacement. Something is approaching from the outer system. How many ships? Counting now, sir. I have 20, 30, 43 contacts confirmed. They are smaller than our vessels. Frigate class, perhaps destroyer class at most. A murmur of confusion ran through the command center. 43 ships against 2,000? It was not even a battle. It was suicide. Weapons range in 10 minutes, the tactical coordinator reported. They are not slowing down. They are accelerating toward us. Gun ready all weapons, Thonix ordered. We will destroy them quickly and proceed with... Everything went dark. Every screen in the command center flickered and died. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing the bridge in red illumination. Around the Divine Mandate, similar chaos erupted across the fleet. Ships lost sensor contact with each other. Communication networks collapsed. Targeting systems failed. What is happening? Thonix roared. Unknown, sir. Some kind of electromagnetic interference. It is not a weapon, it is in our own systems. Someone has accessed our networks. That is impossible. Our systems are isolated, protected by quantum encryption. A voice spoke through the dead speakers, clear despite the system failures. It was human. It was calm. Good evening, Prelate Thonix. This is Commander James Yu of the Earth Defense Force. I wanted you to understand something before the shooting starts. We have been inside your systems since before you entered this sector. Every communication you have sent, every order you have given, every tactical plan you have made, we have heard all of it. On the main screen, which somehow still worked despite everything else being offline, a human face appeared. He was young, perhaps 40, with dark eyes that held no anger, only a kind of patient sadness. You have been fighting us blind, Yu continued. You assumed that 40 years of peaceful trade meant we were learning from you. You never considered that we were studying you. Every ship that docked at our stations, every diplomatic meeting, every joint venture, we were gathering information. Not because we wanted to invade you, but because we learned long ago that peace requires being prepared for war. This is a violation of every, Thonix began, of every galactic law. He interrupted. Perhaps. We will accept that judgment. But first, you need to understand what you are facing. Our ships are smaller than yours. They carry fewer heavy weapons. By every metric your civilization uses to measure military power, we should lose this battle. But you are not fighting the battle you trained for. You are fighting the one we chose. The human ships reached weapons range. But instead of the expected slugfest between capital ships, something else happened. The human vessels split into smaller groups, moving in coordinated patterns that seemed random until suddenly they were not. They were swarming. 6 human ships converged on a concordant battle cruiser. They did not try to penetrate its shields with their lighter weapons. Instead, they did something unexpected. They used electromagnetic pulses, focused communication beams, cyber warfare tools, not to destroy the ship but to confuse it, to blind it, to make it fire at ghosts while they positioned for kill shots. When the battle cruiser's shields were recalibrated to defend against the electronic assault, kinetic rounds slipped through and crippled its weapon systems. The ship was not destroyed. It was simply made useless. This pattern repeated across the battlefield. Human ships worked in packs using tactics that violated every principle of conventional space warfare. They communicated through tight beam lasers that could not be intercepted. They shared targeting data in real time. They adapted to every defensive measure the Concordat threw at them. And then the real horror began. Concordat ships started receiving false sensor data. Friendly vessels appeared as enemies. Navigation systems provided incorrect coordinates. Automated defense systems began targeting their own support craft. Chaos spread through the Armada like a virus because it was a virus. Sophisticated malware that the humans had planted weeks ago, waiting for the perfect moment to activate. This is not war, Krathix whispered, watching his own fleet tear itself apart. This is something else. This is how humanity fights, Commander Yu said, his voice now broadcasting across all channels. We learned centuries ago that bigger weapons do not always win. We learned that information is a weapon, that preparation is a weapon, that understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves is the greatest weapon of all. A Concordat dreadnought, attempting to jump away from the chaos, found its navigation system had been compromised. It jumped but emerged inside the corona of the system's star. The shields held for almost 30 seconds before the ship was vaporized. Stop this, Thonix commanded. We surrender. Stop the attack. I cannot stop what you started, you replied. But I can offer you what Ambassador Chen offered you weeks ago. Withdraw, leave our space. Never return with hostile intent. Do this, and your ships will be allowed to retreat with their crews alive. Refuse, and this continues until your armada is crippled or destroyed. Thonix looked at his tactical display, now finally working again, showing him the truth of the battle. In 30 minutes, the Concordat had lost operational control of 1/3 of its armada. Hundreds of ships were damaged, their systems compromised, and the humans had lost only 4 vessels. How? He asked. How did you do this? We listened to your history, you said. 7 civilizations, each one convinced that their way of warfare was supreme. You fought each other for thousands of years using the same tactics, the same strategies, the same assumptions. You became predictable. Then we arrived, a species that had nearly destroyed itself, learning every wrong way to fight. We studied war the way you studied mathematics. We made every mistake possible on our own world so we would not make them out here. On Earth, in the command center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Okonkwo watched the battle unfold. Around her, analysts provided constant updates. The operation was proceeding exactly as planned. Exactly as it had been simulated 1,000 times in training exercises. General, the Concordat is signaling fleet-wide retreat, her communication officer reported. Let them go, Okonkwo ordered, but mark every ship. Track them to their home systems. If they ever try this again, we will be ready. In space, the Concordat armada turned and jumped away, leaving behind dozens of crippled vessels and the shattered remains of their confidence. They had come to conquer. They were leaving humiliated. Commander Yu's final message echoed across the retreating fleet. You were given a chance to back down. Remember that. Remember that we offered peace first, and pray you never see what we become if we choose war over mercy. The Concordat High Council met in emergency session. The massive chamber, built to project power and authority, now felt hollow. Representatives of 7 species sat in their designated sections, but the usual displays of confidence were absent. They had watched their grand armada retreat in disarray. They had counted the losses. They understood for the first time that they might actually lose this war. "This is unacceptable," Prelate Thonix declared, slamming a fist on the table. "We cannot allow a species of newcomers to humiliate us. If we back down now, every minor civilization in the galaxy will see us as weak." "And if we continue," Qualith countered, her scales flashing colors of concern. "How many more ships do we lose? How many crews? The humans have demonstrated capabilities we never imagined. They infiltrated our networks. They predicted our strategies. They turned our own armada against itself." "They got lucky," Thonix insisted. "Twice, but luck runs out." Krathix, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. His voice was quiet, carrying the weight of someone who had looked death in the face. "It was not luck, Prelate. It was preparation. I have fought in 17 campaigns. I have never seen anything like this. They fight as if they know every move we will make before we make it. Because they hacked our systems," another delegate argued. "We will improve our security. We will isolate our networks. Then their advantage disappears." "Will it?" Qualith asked. "I have been researching human history. Did you know they nearly destroyed their own planet? Not once, but dozens of times. They fought wars so terrible that millions died. They built weapons that could end all life on their world. Then somehow they chose peace. But they never forgot how to fight." "Fairy tales," Thonix dismissed. "Every species claims to have a dark past. It means nothing. It means everything," Krathix said. "A species does not learn to fight like that unless they have fought themselves. We have been at peace internally for centuries, fighting only external enemies. But humans, they spent thousands of years fighting each other, learning every trick, every strategy, every dirty tactic. Then they unified and turned all that knowledge outward." The debate continued for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. The Concordat's pride would not allow surrender. They would mobilize their full military strength, every ship, every soldier, every weapon. This time they would not hold back. This would be total war. "Prepare the home fleets," Thonix ordered. "Strip the defenses from our secondary systems if necessary. Gather everything, 5,000 ships, 10,000, however many it takes. We will crush them with pure numbers." Across Concordat space, the mobilization began. Merchant vessels were converted to military use. Civilian factories retooled to produce weapons. 3 of the 7 species instituted mandatory conscription. This was no longer about the outer reach colonies. This was about survival as a galactic power. On Earth, intelligence services watched the buildup with growing concern. General Okonkwo reviewed the reports in her office deep beneath the mountains. The numbers were staggering. The Concordat was preparing to throw everything they had at humanity. "They are stripping their home defenses," her intelligence director reported. "They are putting their entire civilization into this offensive. If they lose, they will be vulnerable for decades." "Then we make sure they lose," Okonkwo said. "But we do it without becoming monsters. Activate the Neptune fleets. It is time to show them what we really built." For 40 years, while humanity had traded and explored, while they had seemed peaceful and focused on commerce, they had been building, far beyond Neptune in the cold darkness of the outer solar system. Massive shipyards had been constructed, hidden from casual observation, protected by layers of stealth technology. These yards had been producing warships, not the converted freighters and repurposed exploration vessels that the Concordat had seen. Real warships. Purpose-built vessels designed from the keel up for one purpose: to win battles against superior forces. The first ships began arriving at the rally points. The dreadnought Indomitable took position as the flagship. Around it, cruisers and destroyers formed up. Sleek vessels that looked nothing like the clunky commercial craft humanity had shown the galaxy. These ships were graceful and deadly, built using principles learned from observing galactic technology, but improved with human innovation. Commander Yu stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the tactical display showing the formation of the new human fleet. 200 ships, not nearly as many as the Concordat was gathering, but each one a masterpiece of military engineering. "All ships report ready, Commander," his tactical officer said. "The Concordat fleet is 3 days away from launch. Intelligence suggests they are planning a direct assault on Earth itself. Then we meet them halfway. Yu ordered. We chose the ground for the first two battles. Now we fight on neutral territory, at Kepler 442. The Kepler 442 system was uninhabited, a waypoint between concordate and human space. It had no strategic value except as a meeting place. It was perfect for what Yu had planned, a battle that would leave no doubt about humanity's capabilities. The human fleet jumped to Kepler 442 and waited. They did not hide. They did not use stealth technology. They simply positioned themselves and broadcast a message to all concordate frequencies. This is Commander James Yu of the Earth Defense Force. We are waiting for you at Kepler 442. Come and finish this. But know that what you have faced so far was preparation. If you cross into this system with hostile intent, you will face the full strength of humanity's military. We are giving you one final chance. Turn back, accept peace, or learn why peaceful people make the most terrible enemies. The Concordate fleet arrived 3 days later. 5,200 warships, the largest military force assembled in this region of space in a century. Prelate Thonic stood on the bridge of his command ship, looking at the tactical display showing the human fleet. Just 200 ships. They are insane, he muttered. Or they are bluffing. Sir, receiving a communication from the human flagship, the dreadnought Indomitable. They are requesting a direct channel to you. Put them through. Commander Yu appeared on the screen. Behind him, the bridge of the Indomitable was quiet, organized, efficient. Prelate Thonix, you still have time to turn back. Please, I am begging you. Do not make us do this. You are outnumbered 26-1, Thonix replied. You cannot win. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly. You are measuring the wrong things, Yu said quietly. You count ships. You count weapons. But war is not mathematics. It is will, it is preparation. It is understanding that sometimes the only way to preserve peace is to be willing to destroy anyone who threatens it. He paused. We did not want this. We gave you multiple chances to back down, but you keep coming. So now we show you what we really are. Empty words, Thonix said. Attack formation. All ships advance and engage. The Concordate fleet moved forward. The human fleet did not retreat. They held position, 200 ships against more than 5,000. It looked like suicide. It looked like the last desperate stand of a civilization facing extinction. Then the human ships opened fire. But these were not the railguns and electronic warfare tools the Concordate had faced before. These were weapons they had never imagined. Humanity had studied their enemies well. They knew about energy shields, about armor plating, about point defense systems. So they had built weapons specifically designed to defeat all of them. The Kasaba howitzer was a shaped nuclear charge, a fusion bomb that directed its energy in a tight beam, creating a lance of radiation and particles moving at a significant fraction of light speed. It passed through shields designed to deflect energy because it was too intense, too focused. It melted through armor like a torch through paper. The Indomitable fired its main weapon. A Concordate battlecruiser simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant. Around the human fleet, specialized ships began launching what looked like missiles. But these were not conventional weapons. They were autonomous combat drones, each one equipped with basic artificial intelligence and packed with explosives. They swarmed the Concordate ships in thousands, too small and numerous for point defense systems to track. This is slaughter, Krathix whispered, watching from his command ship. Concordate vessels were dying by the dozens, and the humans had not even used all their ships yet. They were holding forces in reserve. For 12 hours, the Battle of Kepler 442 raged. The Concordate threw ship after ship into the fight, believing that numbers would eventually tell. But human endurance, human training, human precision proved superior. When Concordate ships were damaged, they withdrew to make repairs. When human ships were damaged, they kept fighting, their crews working miracles to keep weapon systems online. The climactic moment came when Prelate Thonix, desperate to turn the tide, personally led his super dreadnought Eternal Dominion against the Indomitable. The two flagships traded fire at point-blank range, weapons designed to destroy planets hammering against each other. For 30 minutes, the two massive ships circled each other, neither able to gain advantage. Then Commander Yu did something unexpected. He rammed. The Indomitable drove straight toward the Eternal Dominion, taking terrible damage but forcing the Concordate flagship into a position where its weapons could not track. At 500 meters distance, the Indomitable fired every weapon it had. The Eternal Dominion broke apart. All Concordate forces, Krathix broadcast from his now flagship. Cease fire, retreat, we surrender. The war ended not with a final climactic battle, but with exhaustion. 147 days after the first shot was fired, the Concordat formally surrendered. The ceremony took place aboard a neutral station, witnessed by dozens of other galactic civilizations who had watched the conflict unfold with growing alarm. Admiral Krathix signed the documents with 4 trembling hands. Across from him sat Ambassador David Chen, who had returned to his diplomatic role. Between them lay the terms of surrender, and those terms shocked everyone who read them. No territorial concessions, no reparations, no occupation forces, no war crimes trials. Instead, the document outlined something far more revolutionary: mandatory cultural exchange programs, joint scientific ventures, mutual defense agreements, and a framework for lasting peace built on understanding rather than dominance. I do not understand, Krathix said quietly after the ceremony concluded and the cameras stopped recording. You won, decisively. You could demand anything. Our worlds are defenseless. Our fleets are crippled. Why do you ask for nothing? Chen looked at the warrior who had once laughed at humanity's warnings. Because we remember what we were. Earth nearly destroyed itself, Admiral. We fought wars that killed millions. We built weapons that could end civilization. We learned that victory without wisdom is just delayed defeat. But you could rule us now. You have the power. Power to do what? Chen asked. To occupy your worlds? To suppress your people? To create generations of resentment that would explode into violence again? We fought this war because you gave us no choice. But we never wanted to conquer you. We wanted you to understand that peace is not weakness. Over the following weeks, Concordat leaders reluctantly began implementing the treaty terms. Cultural ambassadors traveled to Earth and human colonies. Scientists from both sides began sharing research, and slowly, painfully, understanding began to grow. The galaxy's other civilizations watched this process with fascination. Many began investigating Earth's history, trying to understand how this species had achieved such military capability while maintaining genuine, peaceful intentions. What they found shocked them. Earth's history was a nightmare catalog of warfare. The world wars, the nuclear standoffs, regional conflicts that lasted generations. Humanity had experimented with every form of violence imaginable. They had built weapons of such terrible power that using them would have meant the end of their species. But they had also learned from every mistake. They had studied their own capacity for violence with scientific rigor. They had developed philosophies of war, strategies of conflict resolution, and ultimately had chosen to turn their expertise toward preventing war rather than waging it. They are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, one galactic analyst wrote in a widely read report. Not because they love war, but because they understand it so completely that they know exactly when and how to use violence most effectively, and more importantly, when not to use it at all. 10 years after the war ended, former war leader Krathix stood in a memorial garden on Earth. The garden honored all casualties of the conflict, human and Concordat alike. 89,000 human names were inscribed on one wall. 2,400,000 Concordat names covered the others. Ambassador Chen found him there, standing before the Vothan section where his own crew members were listed. I lost 60% of my warriors, Krathix said without turning. 60%, and you honor them here, as if they were your own. They were someone's children, Chen replied. Someone's parents or siblings or friends. The fact that they fought against us does not erase their humanity. He paused. I mean, their personhood. They deserved better than to die because their leaders made poor choices. We made poor choices, Krathix corrected. I was there, Ambassador. I laughed at your warnings. I mocked your offer of peace. I led fleets against your colonies. The blood is on my hands, too. You were following the rules you had been taught, Chen said. The Concordat had dominated this region for thousands of years. You had no reason to believe anyone could challenge you. We looked weak because we chose peace. You mistook our mercy for inability. Krathix finally turned to face the human. I have spent these 10 years studying your history. Your species nearly destroyed itself dozens of times. The nuclear weapons, the biological warfare, the environmental collapse you barely avoided. How did you survive? We learned, Chen said simply. We made every mistake possible. We touched the fire and got burned. We built weapons we were too afraid to use and realized that was the point. We discovered that the purpose of military strength is not to enable conquest, but to prevent war, through deterrence and, when deterrence fails, to end conflict as quickly as possible with minimal casualties. And now you teach us, Krathik said. It was not a question. Since the war, human military advisors had been dispatched to dozens of worlds, not to help them attack others, but to help them defend themselves more effectively. More importantly, humans taught conflict resolution, de-escalation techniques, and the difference between strategic strength and aggressive posturing. The concordate species, humbled by their defeat, had proven eager students. They were beginning to understand what humanity had learned through centuries of bloodshed, that the strongest warrior is the one who never has to fight. Do you know what my people call this now? Krathik asked. The war? No. The Great Awakening. Because it woke us from our arrogance. We thought we were the apex of military evolution. We thought our thousands of years of warfare had taught us everything. But we were fighting the same wars, using the same strategies, never really evolving. Then you arrived and showed us what real military innovation looks like. Not bigger weapons, but smarter application of force. Chen smiled slightly. We call it the last warning. Because it was the final chance we gave the galaxy to understand that humanity's choice of peace was exactly that, a choice, not a limitation. They stood together in silence for a while, two former enemies united by the shared hope that the lessons learned in blood would prevent future bloodshed. There is something I must ask, Krathik said eventually. During the war, we never saw more than a fraction of your capability. The defense platforms, the Neptune fleets, the advanced weapons. How much more do you have? What did you not show us? Chen looked at him for a long moment. Enough, Admiral. Always enough. But that is not something you need to fear anymore. The treaty ensures mutual defense. If anyone threatens concordate worlds now, they threaten human worlds too. Your security is our security. And if we had won? Krathik asked quietly. If we had somehow defeated you? You could not have, Chen said, and there was no arrogance in his voice, only certainty, because we were willing to go further than you could imagine. We had contingencies you never saw, weapons we never deployed, strategies we never needed. But more than that, we had something you lacked. We had already survived our own self-destructive impulses. We knew exactly how far we could push ourselves because we had already been to the edge and pulled back. That is a terrifying thought. It should be, Chen agreed. But it should also be comforting, because it means we know the costs. We know the dangers. We will never use force casually. We will always seek peace first. But if someone threatens what we love, if they endanger our people or our allies, they will face an enemy that understands war better than they understand themselves. Another visitor approached the memorial, a young human woman with a child holding her hand. She placed flowers at the base of the wall, at the name of someone she had lost. The child asked a question too quiet to hear. The woman's response was equally soft, but Chen heard enough to understand. She was teaching her daughter about the cost of war. That is why you will never be conquered, Krathik said, watching the scene. Because you remember, you honor your dead and your enemy's dead equally. You teach your children not that war is glorious, but that it is terrible. You build your strength not from joy in combat, but from determination that it never happens again. We gave you a chance to back down, Chen said, echoing his words from 10 years ago. We hoped you would take it. When you did not, we showed you why we offered the chance in the first place. Not because we were afraid, but because we knew what would happen if you forced us to fight. And now we understand, Krathik said. The moment of reckoning has come and gone. Humanity has been tested. The galaxy knows what you are. What are we? Chen asked, curious about the alien perspective. Krathik thought carefully before answering. You are what every peaceful species hopes to be and every warlike species fears to face. You are proof that choosing peace does not mean accepting weakness. You are the reminder that the most dangerous enemy is the one who fights not because they enjoy it, but because they must. The two of them stood in the memorial garden a while longer, surrounded by names of the fallen. Around them, Earth continued its daily rhythm. Children played, people worked, life went on. The planet showed no signs of being a military powerhouse capable of defeating coalitions of ancient civilizations. It looked peaceful, ordinary, almost boring, but now the galaxy knew the truth. Earth had given them all a chance to back down. The Concordat had refused. The moment of reckoning had come, and humanity had proven that their choice of peace was backed by the capability for devastating war. More importantly, they had proven that winning the war was only the beginning. True victory came from building a peace that could last, from turning enemies into allies, from teaching others the lessons learned through centuries of hard experience. Ambassador Chen looked up at the sky, where somewhere among the stars human ships patrolled alongside vessels from the Concordat and dozens of other species. A new galactic order was emerging, one based not on dominance but on mutual respect earned through strength tempered by wisdom. Do you think it will last? Krathix asked. This peace? As long as everyone remembers the alternative, Chen replied. As long as we all remember that the strongest weapon is the one you never have to use. As long as we teach our children that war is not glorious, just sometimes necessary, and that making it unnecessary is the highest calling. The memorial garden stood as a reminder. Earth had given the galaxy a choice. The Concordat had chosen wrong. The reckoning had come, and from the ashes of that reckoning, something better had emerged. Not perfect, but better. And in the end, that was all humanity had ever asked for. A chance to build something better and the strength to protect it when threatened.